Good evening. Welcome to the school board meeting. Can I have a motion to open?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
I think John's muted.
Hey, John, you're muted?
Yes, he is.
Was Sarah?
Is Sarah on? Sarah was on before.
Are you there?
I second.
I'm here.
All right. All in favor?
I'm here.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Do we have a quorum, first of all?
1, 2, 3, 4, you do.
We do. Okay, excellent. All right. So can you please rise for the pledge?
Yep.
I pledge allegiance
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United
of the
States
United States of America,
and to the republic
to the republic for which it stands,
one
one
nation,
nation, under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
liberty.
with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I will, at this point, turn it over to Rich. This is a
Thank you.
budget workshop. So,
Thank you, JP. So this is the first of a series of workshops. This has been a tradition with the East Hampton School Board to really look at each department, each building, and really meticulously scrutinize each of the budgets. Just so the public knows, we started this process probably back end of October, early November, where all the buildings and directors, building principals and directors met with our business official, Keith Rugen, and went over budgets. He's had 2 or 3 meetings, sometimes more, with each department, each building. So we're just at that point now where we're starting to put a budget together for the May vote. Some of the numbers right now, and Keith will get more into it, are still fluid. We're not sure of some things like state aid, et cetera. But as I said, Keith will get into that. But this is our first round, and we have 2 presentations tonight. The first one's going to be the Assistant Superintendent, Adam Fine, and the second's going to be the Assistant Superintendent of Business, Keith Rugen. So, Adam, I'll give you the floor now.
Thank you, Rich. Good evening. So, this is my actually second time doing it in this role. I had a chance to do it last year. So, the assistant superintendent's office really covers, runs the gamut of the entire instructional program. This would include professional development, curriculum development, staff development, in addition to our full summer program. Putting together the budget this year in general was difficult, but yet easy. Last year and going into this year, a number of things kind of didn't happen due to COVID. So we were not able to see exactly what we encumbered. So going forward, what we did is for our summer school, I'm just going to give you an overview, summer school program and coverage for testing, we left that at the same amount. We also anticipate, just for you to hear it now, is more of an expansive summer program this year due to COVID and additional supports we might need to provide for the students who might have been adversely affected by what's going on. We feel we're funded. We didn't need to increase those codes. But if you go, page 1 gives you an overview of my my budget. The first line, which is the 2010 code, we increased that code. It went up 31%. This code specifically included the 2 numbers that increased, where we put aside $10,000 for equipment for the new kitchen at the high school. We still have to determine where we are with that money, with the bond, and how much money we would totally expend and encumber there. So we wanted to make sure we had money for additional equipment. Plus, we're really looking into, with Christina DeSantis looking into donations and the possibility to get some of the equipment donated to us. But we feel that amount of money right now is enough to cover from what's going to happen. The other additional piece that I put in there is I added $10,000 into that, and it's specifically for Family Service League. So what is transpiring now, as you know from all the years we've talked about mental health, we do have a line in the New York State budget, and after our first meeting with Fred Thiel, and then our second meeting with the large group on the South Fork Behavioral Initiative, there is definitely concern this year that the state budget might not include the funding for Family Service League and for that that important aspect of our community. You know, year after year, it's been, you know, when Fred would report to the group, it would be like, it's a slam dunk. It's a slam dunk. This year came obviously with a level of hesitancy. You know, it's kind of a conundrum, because you would think with everything that's going on, mental health should be the one thing that's really funded. But it's just a cushion, you know, and to be honest, $10,000 is, you know, it's chump change in this whole program, where we're basically receiving over $175,000 from the state. So, you know, I know this board has been very supportive over the past decade in mental health and mental health related support. So I wanted to put that in there to know, like, hey, bottom line is, if the state doesn't come through, you know, I feel the district will come through, but I also feel the town, you know, Kathy Burke-Gonzalez has been instrumental in working with the town to contribute to that. So, you know, that's kind of where we are with that. That's on page 2.
That's a big chunk that we were getting, right? It's a significant amount that we would have to try to
That was
pick up
my,
between the community and the school, and
yeah.
that was the only question I had for our, you know, this was not so much questioning about what changed. And frankly, in my opinion, that's the last place that I'm willing to cut. We got other places. I mean, you know, I'm hoping the state comes through, but you know, if you look back in history, when there's tough times, it's one of the first things that gets cut, and it's probably the last that should be cut, but that's the way it goes. And I definitely do not want us to cut that.
No, and James Crenshaw has still remaining some additional funding for it too in the high school budget. I had asked him to leave that in just in case. Again, you know, I think the district and the town have been the two most committed entities to all of this, obviously, along with Family Service League, and the relationship has been mutually beneficial, obviously, for employment purposes for Family Service League and them receiving funding. But what we're receiving for our kids and this community is, you really can't put a number on it, to be honest with you.
Invaluable.
Yeah.
And I know, and I'm sorry, but I know Family Service League, I'm not sure if they were there 3 days a week, but that really made a significant difference in the lives of many of our students. And that particular service are allowed to delve much deeper into a therapeutic mode. There kind of are certain restrictions with our psychologists and social workers. So if a needed in-depth therapeutic service is needed, it is provided by Family Service League. So we really have that in place.
Yeah. And you know, I mean, you know, Rich, I think you said it all, JP. I mean, there's, you know, what can you say about that? Their relationship with us and our school specifically, meaning our district specifically, has been unwavering. They've been there for us. And, you know, I know when things get backlogged there, Ralph and myself can make a phone call to get our kids the services they need. We've never had kids turned down. You know, so it's definitely been something that's been incredibly beneficial, and I think it's worth continuing that relationship. You know,
and we just can't go. We can't go backwards, because the way things worked when a crisis did occur, for a student to have to be transported to Stony Brook Hospital, an hour-and-a-half ride, and then perhaps not even receive services because their particular case might not have been deemed by their therapist as being significant. We just can cut through all that red tape, and just having people on board, it just made such a difference.
Absolutely.
Even if we can go one step further and flag things, I know, you know, as we've gone in the past, we flag things. I like to flag it and make sure that there's enough there, because I don't know if they're going to get. I mean, obviously, there's a trickle down effect from Family Service. If they get cut from the state, I'm sure that's where a lot of their funding comes from, at the county. I want to make sure that we do more in that. We're going to need more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So I'd
yeah,
rather
if we can take it from somewhere else.
do it than take it away.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's great.
You know,
Yeah.
Thanks, JP. You know, and when you look really, you know, the 2070 code, you know, which is the following is really our PD. You know, what we did this year is the majority of the monies that were encumbered in this code were for elementary school. Some of the stuff the elementary school did. We really kind of, you know, when I took the position, I really wanted to have a pause this year on what we were doing to really assess what was going on as we move forward district-wide curriculum and PD wise. Of course, I didn't anticipate what's happened. I didn't think we'd be in the situation we were. So, you know, the pause actually was artificial. But we have, I will tell you this, and we've seen it across all school districts, is the actual, I would say the efficacy in online and virtual professional development, that leads to a net savings for our school district down the road. What a lot of the groups, including BOCES, Eastern Suffolk BOCES, have done is they've kind of streamlined their programs. So they're basically these 3-hour blocks. We're not paying, you know, teachers or professionals to travel. We're not having to reimburse for meals and whatnot. You know, for example, I have a professional developer coming tomorrow. She's Zooming. We're doing with our stuff we're doing on equity and diversity. I don't have to pay. She lives in Kansas. I'm not paying for her to fly
Right.
here. I'm not paying for her lodging. So as we go forward and we, you know, whoever succeeds me in this position, and as we go directionally, there's definitely a variety of options out there. And I think there's going to be a net savings for the district, which is actually good news. Not saying that it doesn't matter going and being with your colleagues and collaborating. But the bottom line is they've streamlined a lot of these programs. So you don't have to sit in front of a Zoom meeting like this for 8 hours, you know, just on a good note.
Good.
You know, so, again, going through, I don't know if there's any questions, please just stop and just tell me the page and we'll be good to go. But, and again, the last piece is our summer program. We made off with some savings last year when they canceled the Regencies. You know, obviously Tim's online now and Tim's run summer school for the past, you know, been involved in some level over the past few years. But, you know, we didn't have to pay for Regents proctoring and whatnot. And and Regents review, which is a big nut. You know, this year going forward, I think where it looks like where it's itemized, I mean, things can change. We're going to have to really take a look at what our kids' needs are across the board. Really, K through 12. You know, the traditional summer school at the high schools, we get it, it's fine. You know, but when you're looking at middle school students who are struggling, what additional supports can we provide over the summer, and in what manner can we provide those supports? So, you know, it might not necessarily be bringing the kids in the summer. I don't know if we're going to be there. Last year it was done virtually and live stream.
Right.
Obviously, I'd love to bring the kids in, and I hope we're there. God willing, we're there. But you know, hopefully there's a little savings there, because that is really the majority of this budget is the summer program.
But Adam, I think we also had discussions that perhaps we have to do some type of need analysis at the lower levels at the elementary school, because we might have to have some type of academic enrichment program.
Yes.
I think so many of our kids are not. I mean, I would feel horrible for some kindergarten, first grade kids who are just reading readiness level and just need another, they need more exposure to direct instruction. So we're keeping that in mind too, just so the board is aware that we might have to implement that.
That's great.
Absolutely. Yep.
Do we have any indication yet about Regents this year? Because obviously if we
No.
Adam and
have
I
them again, we
about
can put
that
that money towards it.
It's really the state has sent a waiver to the federal government, because they're the ones that really control that. So if the federal government does change their position, which previously they weren't willing, but it looks like with the new administration, we're waiting patiently for the SED, New York State Department of Education, to get notification from the federal government the waiver
But
was.
the federal government is for the regents too then, is what you're saying? Or I
it'll
thought that was
start
just
off
for the K to,
No,
Yeah,
it's,
it'll
the
start
3
off
to
with-
8.
yeah.
Yeah,
No,
it'll
it's the
start off with
it's,
3 to 8 first.
that's part of our accountability that we have to show that we're making progress. And
Right.
the regions were part of the plan to show that accountability. It's still
At the
kind
higher
of
level,
centered on
okay.
the state, but it dovetails into what is expected of us by the federal government. And all our grants are dependent upon that. So we have to wait, hold and see.
Yeah.
Okay, so we don't
Yeah.
know what New York State's gonna decide, but ultimately it's New York State.
Yeah, I would think,
Ultimately.
I would think March. I would think the beginning of March, just, there's a meeting at the end of this week.
Mhm.
Either myself and Tim are going to attend with Dave Wicks, who's the Eastern Suffolk BOCES superintendent. He directly has discussions with New York State, so we know that where their heads are. I know New York State has already indicated, according to Dave, that, they were going to apply for the waiver. They want the waiver. They do not want to give the 3 to 8 testing. They do not see an effective, equitable way to
Right.
deliver
Right.
those exams, but they're just waiting for the waiver.
So
But then
it might-
when we know about regents then, shortly after that, is it all,
Right after.
I
then
think
it'll
right,
just start
after.
moving up?
right in March. The tests are scheduled for April. So
There's a
Right.
meeting on,
They have to
there's a
make up
meeting
their
on
mind soon.
Thursday. There's a meeting on Thursday, like Adam said, with Wicks. They keep pushing their time back. It's supposed to be today, then it was Thursday morning, now it's Thursday afternoon. And, he's the keynote speaker at the meeting. And he had said even at the last meeting that the 3 through 8 tests are the first that are going to be probably addressed. He has a feeling that, what the state has already said is they have to be done in person. So if schools aren't offering tests in person, they can't run. So they have to actually address the fact that you're not going to have every kid in the state in person. You can't run these tests. So they're basically waiting to pull, to get a final word, like Adam said, from what the federal government's going to do with funding for these tests. And then probably the end of March, assuming they make the decision on the 3 through 8 tests, that the Regents exam would follow soon after. But they're not going to make that decision until they hear from the federal government, and it's
Right.
coming in
Yeah.
closer and closer.
All right, so fingers crossed.
yeah,
And just going back to where, Adam, you were with the summer school program, I would really like to see us, and it sounds like that's the direction you're going, is to beef that up if necessary. I mean, hopefully we'll be a little bit better place in the summer than we are today. So if we can help those kids that fell behind,
Yep.
I think we've got to really try to do what we can. I mean, and what we can afford. But, we'll save some money some places and we'll spend twice as much somewhere else with skilled living and all the other stuff that we need. But we've crossed that bridge. So if we can get kids some extra help for the summer so that their next year can be better, I think we really should do that.
Agreed.
Yep. We're on
Yep.
the same page,
Same
JP.
page.
Good.
Yep. Any more questions then for Adam? I think
No.
we might be finished with his budget.
Yeah, he answered mine.
Okay, thank you. Keith, the floor is yours. Assistant Superintendent for Business will present some specific details that were expected for this particular presentation.
Okay, thank you, Rich. Good evening, everyone. So just to echo Rich's, all these numbers are preliminary and have been gathered from data that we have at this time. These numbers may change over the next few months as we get closer to a final budget, which we all know. So I'm going to go over the business office budget, which is my office, the 1310 codes. Overall total, we're down about $20,000, which is about 3.5%. Overall, that includes salaries, equipment, supplies, contractual. So again, we cut a little bit there, which we were able to do, as we've been asking other departments to cut as well, so we followed suit. The next code, 1320 codes. 1320, just the stipends and the salaries for, say, like the internal auditor. We have internal auditing, annual auditing services, ESPR group and Questar, which we know. We work with very well, Questar, and internal auditor that comes down, Sarah, who's been a big help over many years. 1325 codes are the treasurer's salary codes, and those are going to increase slightly. We do need to discuss that. in personnel, as the contracts are going to be coming due soon. The 1345 code, which again is part of the non-contractual items that we're going to review tonight. Such services as ed data that the teachers use to buy supplies and materials. That code went up slightly, considering an increase in cost going forward. We know, unfortunately, prices increase on an annual basis as opposed to going down. So we added a little bit of funds there. It's only up about 3.7%, but we increased it slightly to cover the ed data costs. Next code is the 1420 code, which is our contractual legal counsel. We have right now, Fraser and Feldman. We do a great job. We did an increase this slightly there of about $10,000, just in case for other incidentals that may arise coming up the following year. As well in that 1420 code is the legal servicing for bonding. We just had that successful bond we just did for the new transportation depot, which we're looking very forward to constructing. That is in that code as well, and that's Hawkins and Delafield, which you all know, and Munistat, which is our financial planning partner. Our next code in the 1430 is our personnel. One thing we did here, this went up a little bit, about 11%, only because when I met with Kerry and Rich, we did take out one of the personnel pieces. It's our background checks that we do when we're hiring new employees. We felt that it should not be in the superintendent's budget, it should be in the personnel budget. So that went up significantly. So, I mean, it's 11%, it's only $4,000, but on a percentage basis, it looks high because we took out the background checks and put it in the code. So that's the difference there. A 1460 code is our record management officer stipend. That will stay the same for next year. No change there. 1480 code is the public information code. This is going to be considering we're all job postings. So Miller Advertising, we have to advertise for job postings. This we had to increase. I'm sorry, this is staying the same, but may have to increase. I'm in the process of talking to Miller Advertising at the moment, and we will have to actually table that. You may see the 4900 codes or 49 codes, we call them. Those are all the BOCES codes. We're going to table that for a different meeting. We're going to do all the BOCES codes at one time, which will make more sense. Tackle those all in one sector. The 7140 codes are the community service code, which is our Project Most. Thank you for our partners at Project Most, doing a great job. And we kept that the same. We will have to speak with them and discuss what will happen with that code going forward. Okay, so now we get to the bigger part of the presentation are the employee benefits and what we call fringe benefits, right? That has increased overall by $500,000. Now we know, again, costs are going to increase, not decrease. The one great thing I love we did last year, which the board agreed to, which I thank you for, we separated the health active employees, health retirees, medical waivers, and Medicare Part B, and dental and vision. This is going to help us, when Deirdre and I do the financials at the end of the year. We have to report them this way. So they were taken out of the budget last year and given a separate line, which is great. There was a lot of shuffling around we had to do because last year some was over budgeted, under budgeted. So we just evened it out a little bit this year. So you'll see significant swings only because last year was the first year we did this. So it was all estimated. We weren't sure. We really had no track record, what was going to happen with each code. So that's why you'll see the big swings there in those codes, like the 90, 60, 8004 code. But overall, we're increasing by $500,000. Now, again, preliminary numbers, this may change, but that is what we're adding right now, $513,000 in the difference. The 9760 codes, which is our TAN, our annual TAN that we do. I lowered that by $75,000 only because rates are so low, which is great. So with rates being so low, I was able to save some money there and lower that code by a significant amount. to make sure that even if rates go up by, say, 1%, a full 1%, we'll be able to cover the costs. Now, we may have to increase that the following and subsequent years afterwards, but for next year, we should be able to save some money there, which is great news. On the last page, actually, the transfer to school lunch fund that was increased. What's been happening is, next year we're going to open as a normal year, hopefully. We've saved some money this year, unfortunately, with the cafeteria. So it was less, but next year I actually increase it to go back to what we had before prior to COVID. Now with COVID expenses and everything else, as we all know, it's been a tough year for everyone. And, we do wish everyone well and hope everyone's doing very well. Transfer to debt service, which is another one.
Can I just interrupt for 1 second?
Sure.
I know we're giving free lunches to all students at this point. And there was a commitment from the federal government. Is there any news on that in terms of us getting refunded with that money?
As of right now, yeah. Christine, you want to say? You want to go?
Yeah, that was just a little skepticism there.
Oh. Yeah, as of now, last thing that we heard, we are funded through June, the end of the school year. We are on conference calls with them on a monthly basis, so I will definitely keep everybody apprised of if anything changes.
So we think that we are getting them. Did we ever even get from last summer reimbursement?
We got not fully funded, but we got, I'd say, about 60% of it so far.
Okay, and so we're funding. We're just filling the other 40%. Okay,
Right.
so hopefully we'll get a significant reimbursement for this then.
They're saying it's supposed to be at 100%.
Okay.
So
They
that's,
didn't say when.
they didn't say when.
It would be nice.
Right.
It may be subsequent years, just as with the COVID reimbursement, that was going to be getting all
They're all
the
behind.
time. It's going to be X amount of dollars per year over 5 years. So it's, again, even though you're spending the dollars this year, you're not going to get it back next year. It's just how it works.
How
Right.
has Whitson's been handling everything? And how are they getting other? How have they been doing?
Melissa Curran's doing a great job. I know Adam's been helping out as well with the Whitsons. Melissa Curran's doing a great job. She really is. So, Melissa, if you're listening, thank you so much. It's been tough. We have the conference calls once a month with New York State. So everyone's involved on the conference calls. So if anything changes, I'll definitely keep you apprised. But as of right now, we are getting funded through June. The Whitson's program, unfortunately, had to go through some small changes, and is slowly coming back.
Okay.
Yeah, I think people don't realize that, with the kids being in school, basically, in two of the buildings, half of the time, that's half of the amount of lunches, a lot of the time until they did, do the free and reduced.
Yeah.
But, so their sales have got to be down. So,
We also have to have them.
it's an impact to
survive.
everyone.
Yeah. We also have to have them survive. So next year, when we need them,
Right,
they're still functioning,
Right. right.
So we're doing all.
I have a question for Keith.
Sure.
Keith, can I comment?
I'm
Something
finished.
general. At some point in the budget year, especially with respect to equipment, if you haven't spent it yet, and you probably don't need it for this year, at some point we close that down, right? So when you look at column 5, balance, a lot of the budget. So when do we anticipate, and this is an unusual year, but when do we anticipate saying to department heads and everybody else, if you haven't spent it, you're not going to spend it. If you haven't spent it yet, you're no longer allowed to spend it. Is that a general policy we start to implement in around now or a little later?
That's a great question, John. So yes, we can. That's something that we will do. Usually happens around April, May, I'd say, because by that time we'll know if we need anything else for the remainder of the year. Practice what has been done before, from what I've heard and what I've discussed with other people in my department. That April, May time will go forward and we'll say who needs what by the end of the year, school year, If nothing's needed, we'll liquidate those POs and have that money for the following subsequent year. Data, John, good question. Column 5, great question. These are the balance as of right now, as of January 19th. This data was from January 19th that I put in there. So it's going to be a little less as of tonight. But the data in column 5 is as of January 19th. Okay. And Rich, I'm conclude. Any other questions?
Good. Pretty straightforward. Thank you for the layout, Keith, too. I like the way you got the budget and the expenditure, what we actually spent last year. It's just good for us to see it, because I know sometimes in situations like this year in particular, you have to take from one place because you couldn't do it and put it in another place you didn't even know you were going to need it, like, you know, masks and the PPE stuff that no one knew a year ago we were going to even have to buy. So it's good to see in writing, you know, what we actually spent and just for planning going forward. And the whole breakdown of the benefits is helpful as well.
Thank you, JP. Yeah, planning and transparency is what I was going for. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, back to you, Rich.
Yep. So those were the only 2 presentations tonight. As Keith said, some of the numbers are really fluid at this point, but we fully expect, even though we only had a 1.23 tax levy cap increase, we still fully expect to be underneath what the cap is. We're not going to have to ask taxpayers to vote on a proposition that would pierce the cap. So right. We're in good shape that way. It's just that some of the numbers, you know, I think next budget workshop meeting, that's scheduled for February 23rd, we'll be able to give you some more information. We'll have more of the TRS numbers, the ERS numbers, and things that we're still waiting for. I don't know if anybody got a chance in today's news day. The way the governor's office is putting forth the budget, it kind of seemed like at first there was a 7% increase, but when you kind of look at the hard numbers, that really is not the case. And each school district is really a case by case, looking at their numbers. Again, we don't significantly depend upon state funding, so we're okay that way. But there are going to be, I think, pretty dramatic cuts in many of the school districts that are depending on state funding at this point.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Kind of sad, to be quite honest. It was a little, sobering reading Newsday today. That was from Newsday today.
We're very fortunate. We're very fortunate to be in the situation that we're in.
Yep, we really are. So I think we might be good for tonight's budget workshop, unless there's any other questions. Do any board member want us to pursue a specific line of inquiry at all that came to your mind just from looking at the?
Nothing from here. Adam answered the questions, and I fully understand where he's coming from, and it makes sense that we're doing that. I just would like to stay steady on that, and and I know that's near and dear to Adam's heart, so there'll be nothing missed, but just know that you've got support here too.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I know.
We really appreciate that, especially when, we're hearing some, we know we have to get our kids back. That's the bottom line. There's no question about it. So just that we're going to get ready for adjournment. JP, you'll call that, but we also have to go into executive session for the employment history of particular persons. So it's a personnel issue.
Hey, Rich, do we drop out of this and come into another Zoom meeting?
Yes.
Yeah, with a separate link.
I think Adam said it came from Adam earlier today.
Yeah.
I make a motion that we adjourn.
Okay.
Yes.
Make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Executive session for personnel, matters of personnel.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? I'll see you at the next meeting.
Okay. Thanks. Good night, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Good night.
Bye.